This time on One Foot Flipper, I look at 8 things that you're just going to have to make peace with if you want to be successful selling on eBay. Stay tuned.
One foot flipper.
Hey everybody, Paige here, One Foot Flipper. I'm called that because I literally only have 1 foot. I am a right leg amputee above the knee, but yet I still manage to do the whole eBay thing, just like you do, or maybe you're hoping to do. Today we're going to look at 8 things that you're going to have to just learn to accept or make peace with long term if you want to be a successful seller on eBay or Vendu. Vendu's not a category, but eBay, Mercari, Poshmark, any of those places. You're going to have to learn to get over these things because everybody's going to have to get over them. All right, the first thing you're going to have to learn to get over is simply your own mistakes. I make mistakes. You make mistakes. I'm going to make more mistakes than you're going to make more mistakes. You're going to typo prices. You're going to attach the wrong photos to a listing somehow. You're going to put the wrong shipping profile on a listing and have that 20-pound item set for 59-cent trading card shipping. You're going to do it. You're going to put in the wrong weight or the wrong dimensions on a listing. Or you're going to leave a completely inappropriate title or description from using selling similar. Everybody is going to do this. You're going to underpack items and break them. You're going to overpack items and lose money on shipping or shipping supplies. You're going to make bad deals at garage sales, and you will leave money on the table in your deals. You will buy and list items that'll never sell no matter how much you reduce the price. And you're just going to have to learn how to get past that and be willing to just get rid of the item, no matter how much money you have in it. In fact, the amount of money you paid for the item, it has no bearing on the market value of the item. I see people on the eBay forum saying, well, I can't reduce my price on this item because I paid this much for it. I'm going to lose money if I sell it for this much. It doesn't matter. In the majority of cases, you cannot control the market value of anything on eBay. There are some exceptions to that. It is possible to control the market value of rarer collectibles, certain trading cards. You can indeed, if you're willing to go all in with your money, you can make a certain collectible very valuable if you want to. Or you can make it very cheap if you want to. That's up to you. That's your money if you want to do that. I do know that I personally made 8th edition foil Shivan Dragon magic cards go up significantly in value, and the price never went down. But if you paid $1,000 for an item and it only sells for $50, then $50 is all you can get. You're never going to get the $1,000. It won't happen. And that $1,000 could be $100. Same deal. You're never going to get it. It's not going to happen. But hopefully long term, the number of mistakes you're making are going to go down over time. I know mine have, but even today, years in, I sometimes still make new mistakes that I never even thought I would make. The second thing you're going to want to make peace with is returns. Returns are going to happen. People are going to return things no matter what you do. Some of the returns will be legitimate. Maybe you messed up, you sent them a broken item, it broke in shipping, you sent them the wrong item. But most are going to be remorse returns. Some of the returns aren't even real returns. It's people fishing for a partial refund, and if you accept their return, they'll never send the item back. There are things you can do to minimize returns. You can avoid high return categories, clothing in general, women's clothing in specific, electronics, breakable items. Those are going to be your high return categories. Drones too. Drones are a very super high return category, and auto parts as well. Probably that whole, in auto parts, probably that whole eBay guaranteed fit thing that just for some reason shows up on listings and people think, oh, I've got a 76 Pinto and this thing says guaranteed fit, so it must fit the 76 Pinto, right? And it doesn't work that way. Well, no returns doesn't mean no returns for customers willing to lie. It can indeed help keep your more honest customers honest. However, no returns is going to hurt your placement in the eBay algorithm if that's the sort of seller you are. I am not too big on trying to game the eBay algorithm because I don't sell a lot of items that are algorithm specific. The harder it is to search for a specific item on eBay, the more the algorithm matters. I tend to sell a lot of things that have specific names, so the algorithm is not as important to me. You can also just try to minimize your return losses via a few different methods. when you get that return request, there's nothing making you respond to it instantly. Believe you have 3 business days to respond. So you could indeed take all 3, respond the last day. And then if you wanted to, especially if you think the whole thing is, crazy or not at your fault, then offer a partial refund at that point. Your casual buyers, your people who didn't really care, they might have just moved on from the whole thing from now. They may never come back to respond to that partial refund offer. Now, if you want to do things like that, that is up to you. What I do about returns varies wildly case to case. If something's broken or it's my fault, I hit the accept button immediately and either give them a full refund or take the item back if it's my fault, depending on which. And otherwise, it's a case-by-case basis whether I will immediately accept the return or offer a partial refund or something else. It's very case-by-case. Third thing you're just going to have to get used to is volatility. eBay sales will not be smooth either in dollar amount or in their frequency, particularly in the short term, regardless of what your favorite YouTubers tell you. And you notice most of the people who are telling you that you should have the same amount of YouTube sales, same amount of eBay sales every day, and that they should be equally spread out through the day, themselves do not have smooth sales. Instead, they're complaining, saying that the sales should be smooth. You can't expect this at all. You cannot expect to sell a certain dollar amount or number of items per day. Unless you are selling nothing but new iPhones for $50 and you list 10 of them per day, in that case, you're going to sell 10 of them per day, every day, for $50. Otherwise, you can't expect it to be the same. You can't expect for Monday to look like Tuesday. You cannot expect for your sales to be evenly spread throughout the day, nor can you really ever expect to have a significant number of sales in the middle of the night for your location. I imagine most of you watching this are the average picker eBay seller, or maybe you aspire to be so, or just like hearing about it. You probably have your favorite specialties, but you're selling a wide variety of merchandise overall. Well, that's a pretty great path to long-term solid sales. It is not a recipe for extremely consistent sales on a day-to-day basis in either dollar number or item numbers. Because that is all a game of chance and probability with thousands of game pieces. How many listings you got? You got 2,700? You got 2,700 game pieces in play. And each one of those has hundreds of different variables. So you're going to get wildly different results from one day to the next. Now, the more niche down you are, the more consistent you will be from one day to the next. But even then, 100% swings from Monday to Tuesday is totally normal. And that's something I experienced very much firsthand when I sold nothing but magic cards. We can look at my own sales here. I recently had on my main store a $57 day. Then I had 6 days in a row that were between $240 and $380. Then that was followed by an $85 day. And those sort of fluke days are completely normal. Here's my sales chart right here. That's normal. When I worked for a website that did all of their own sales on their own site, the sales were equally volatile. That is normal. You cannot control the number of people in the world who choose to buy a certain item or a certain thing a certain day and where they choose to buy it from. You can't control that. And here's the sales chart on my trading card store. It sells nothing but low dollar trading cards. And look, it's still all over the place. That is normal. And the trading card store basically has 11,000 extremely similar items at a very similar price point, yet it will vary by 1,000% between one day and the next. And that is normal. And equally, your sales are going to rise and fall with the economy, the number of sellers out there, and this is going to be affected by the type of items you sell. I made way more money last year than I'm going to make this year. I think almost everybody did. And that's part of it as well. Now, these numbers do tend to smooth out over time. Usually, one week to the next will look smoother than one day to the next. 1 month to the next will tend to look smoother and so on. And that will be affected by the larger macroeconomics and what you're doing in your store. But day to day, it's going to be a roller coaster. Your fourth thing is going to be your selling fees. Selling is not free no matter what you do. Well, we can back it up a little bit. You could sell 100% local on nothing but Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, or sell something special to the boys behind the 7-Eleven, and you'd never pay a single seller fee. But that's also absolutely one of the least profitable paths you can take. Aside, that is, from selling trading cards on eBay for 99 cents shipped. That is the least profitable path you can take. But if you're a focus specialist, then you could sell on nothing but Facebook groups or web forums for your specialty, and you'd pay only PayPal fees. And some people indeed choose to do just that. However, that tends to be far less profitable than just using eBay, as those forums and groups tend to be populated by what I call the expert cheapskates. They are deep into whatever the subject is, and they're only going to buy things with an incredible deal. They're not going to pay eBay prices for anything. In fact, my local Facebook retro gaming group, it's supposedly a sale group, but almost no sales take place there. It's easy to tell because almost everything listed in the group for sale is listed at a higher price than the person would end up netting on eBay. And everything I've ever listed for sale in that group has gone completely unsold with no interest whatsoever unless it was half eBay price or less. And that's kind of what you can expect from web forums. You could make your own website. You'll likely be paying some sort of hosting fee and for credit card processing, and you'll still need a way to drive traffic to your website. That's not free. All I can say to that is good luck with that. eBay has store fees, final value fees, promoted listing fees. It even has other fees if you're making bad choices, such as bold listing or gallery plus. I'm sure there's a whole lot of other ways you could waste your money there. But these fees tend to be very much in line with what other online marketplaces charge. It's not like Mercari is significantly cheaper or Poshmark is cheaper. Poshmark's actually significantly more expensive. And if the marketplace is cheaper than eBay, then the chances are that there's fewer eyes on it. You ever bought anything off Bonanza? You know how long I had been selling and buying things online and how long I did eBay full-time before I even knew Bonanza existed? I did not know Bonanza existed until I saw a Commonwealth Picker video in which he got a sale on Bonanza. And if you think all of these fees are excessive, go down to your local brick-and-mortar small business, do it on a slow day, and talk to the owner about what sort of overhead she's got on the place. And you will be wishing for those 13% eBay fees. Hey, fifth thing is bad reviews. You can be the best seller in the world, and you will still get bad reviews and negative feedbacks. I've actually been particularly unlucky on those lately. I have 5 negatives in the past 5 months. 2 of them were on PlayStation games that were tested and left here working, but supposedly didn't work when they got there. 1 was because of the post office. 1 was someone who either did not look at photos or had unrealistic expectations. It was a gourd. The feedback said, Tedja gourd half the blemish on it. And 1 person who said their hat didn't look like the photos. The photos were of the same hat. Nothing had happened to the hat. I took the pictures of the hat. It sat in the hat bin for about 6 weeks and then went out to the person. Equally, I had about 3 neutrals in the same time period. 1 was post office related. 1 was from a scammer who not only switched out his broken Game Boy accessory for my working one, but he also left neutral feedback as well. I guess he was hoping to keep both his broken one and my working one. It was one of those doohickeys that adds onto the Game Boy that, oh, here it is. This thing right here. Returned it, said the light doesn't work. But then I accepted the return and everything else, but later, when I looked at the photos, I realized on the unit he sent back, the wires were completely severed between where the light is and where the battery box is. While in my photos, there were visible wires going between those 2 things. So he returned a different one and left me a neutral for it. And finally, my most recent neutral is from somebody who canceled their order, wasting my time and my money, and then they thanked me with a neutral feedback a month later. Thanks. You can try to satisfy the customer any way you can to try to get them to change their feedback. However, in my experience, that usually ends up with me refunding 100% of their money, them keeping the perfectly good item, and the feedback never getting changed. Most of the time, if I send somebody something and it's actually broken, they usually message me or send a return request, and I deal with it right there. They generally don't drop negatives. Generally, people who drop negatives, that was their final, expletive to the world, and they're not going back to do anything else. You've got to accept that, number 6, that other people might be more successful than you, or they might just seem to be more successful than you. Judge yourself based on your own performance. Nobody else has the same combination of skills, experience, and mental or physical abilities or endurance than you do. I'm never going to be able to put in the 16-hour days that some sellers do. You might not have the same items or opportunities in your area that other people do. You might not be as physically capable as some of the young clothing sellers who will spend 3 hours a day bent over the Goodwill bins to pull out 20 grails. Maybe your ET pins, death pile monsters, ducks, plush, and toys might not sell as well as the ones you see YouTube sellers selling, as those are common viewer sale items. And it doesn't really matter what K-Ride Common Homeschool Flips did this month. It matters what you did. He might do 100,000 on eBay every month. Doesn't matter to you. If you increase from 3,000 last month to 3,500 this month, then you're killing it, man. Good for you. I am glad to hear it. Don't worry about what K-Ride's Common Homeschool Flips did. It's about you and only you. 7th thing is scams. Eventually, it's going to happen. If you're new, you might fall for one of the various text me or off eBay scams. Those are ones where somebody pretends to be interested in an item and they try to get you to text them or to take the purchase off eBay, and they're going to somehow, some way get you to either send them that item for free or somehow get money out of you. I have never had to talk to a customer off of eBay before a purchase, except in the few cases where I had to work out shipping on arcade games. Everything else, I've always been able to go through the message system. You don't need to talk to these customers off eBay for any reason. If you get past that point in your career, because those people do target new sellers, eventually somebody's still going to buy your item, return something else, or claim not to have received it. If you sell enough, it's going to absolutely happen. You can mitigate this somewhat by avoiding scam magnet items. Phones and laptops are among the highest. Video games are pretty high. Things that will attract impulsive young men in their late teens and 20s tend to be higher scam items. If you do sell a phone or a laptop and you find out that the address is a freight forwarder, then I'm going to suggest you go ahead and find a way to cancel that order. Normally freight forwarders are fine. And how you spot a freight forwarder address, it's going to be a city, it's going to be a port city someplace, it's going to be on the East Coast or the West Coast. Oregon is common, Florida is common, but there'll always be a weird string of extra numbers and letters in the address, usually after the person's name. That's going to be a freight forwarder. And if you get a phone or a laptop order going to one of those, find a reason to cancel it. Just say problem with customer's address. The fact is, they sell phones and laptops in other countries. There's no reason for someone to buy one from overseas and pay shipping twice on it unless they're up to no good. Now, outside of the high scam items, freight forwarders are usually not an issue. They are very common among trading cards and collectible customers, and I've had no freight forwarder issues on eBay outside of those high scam areas. 8th and final is changes, glitches, and things that you can't control. Things will change beyond your control. Your totally innocent item might get a Vero claim, or it might get taken down by the eBay robots. Fugglers might become less popular than they were. Everyone might buy my Christmas ornaments, which you should, by the way, they're in the store, instead of yours. eBay will change the rules. Your item might get lost in search for a while. Something like Whatnot might become popular for a time and crush your favorite category on eBay, as plush is tanked on eBay recently due to Whatnot plush sales. eBay might completely ban your designer imposters fragrance sprays, and you might have a whole storage unit full of it. Changes in shipping charges might ruin your category. The USPS length surcharge has wrecked much of the poster category. Can't send them for $3.80 anymore. Doubling up the cost of the shipping has ruined much of that category. The entire eBay website might go down for hours. Someone else might always appear above you in best match, no matter what you do. But you know what? You can't do anything about things beyond your control other than reacting to them. Complaining, crying, screaming, posting around on the eBay forums, and then changing nothing isn't going to help. Do whatever you need to do to move forward when something that happens beyond your control, and then move forward. And wow, I've gone on for a long time. So that's all I've got for today. If you know any friends who might still need to come to terms with some of these things, why don't you let them know about my channel, and hope to see you again soon.